All right, guys, welcome back for another video. In today's video, I want to talk about the Bitcoin USD long chart on Bitfinex. And this is a weekly chart. And essentially what it's showing you is the net aggregate long exposure of traders on Bitfinex. And if you guys aren't familiar with Bitfinex, it's a exchange that's been around for a while, and it has historically been used by Bitcoin whales or traders with very large position sizes. I'm not sure why they tend to aggregate on that exchange, but that's kind of the trend. And, I think it's because Bitfinex has been around for a while. They have a great reputation. Who knows, really? But anytime I see data like this, approaching, extremes, it always catches my attention. I look here, and this previous all-time high was significant. Previously, if you think about this median band, what would represent the mean, it was basically double that and running above these highs here, setting new historical extremes. And if you look at the price chart, that's July 26th. So then if we go to the price chart, Bitfinex, of course, you go to July 26th, and that, uh, those whales increasing their net exposure, well, they increase it at the exact bottom right there, that July 26th or July 19th month. And now we see that new, long exposure making new highs, creeping up to new highs. And it's interesting that, where it does that in the price chart. So the long started peaking on this weekly candle right here, the May 9th, which is very significant because it's a run below these consolidation lows right here. So this is a very obvious area for stop losses and liquidations to accumulate. So as price runs down there, it hits these sell stops, takes the other side of that order, and you can see that represented in the volume here. There were probably a ton of sitting orders right there, and this was the Luna Terra capitulation here, where the Luna Foundation sent 80,000 BTC to the exchange and flushed it. But yeah, if we go to the long chart, we can see that this May 9th candle is also where things started going parabolic here. Yep. So this was the week where the summer 2021 lows were ran on that very, very high volume candle that we saw. And, prices also, starting to go parabolic again. Now, after that initial run, it started to go sideways as price went sideways. And it's starting to go parabolic again on today's price action. So if we go back to Bitfinex, you can see here, price. So what's interesting is that it's going parabolic as the lows get ran, right? So as this macro low got ran here, right? This macro low here got ran. That's when the long exposure on Bitfinex went parabolic. And also now going parabolic again, running below these lows here as well. So again, dramatically so below these lows, but you get the idea. But what's interesting is that, on Bitfinex, a lot of those players are also getting liquidated. So as prices moving lower, especially on a day like today, you would think that the long exposure would go down due to liquidations. And if you look at the liquidation chart by like something like Kingfisher or some service like that tracks it, you can see there are a lot of liquidations on Bitfinex, but still that aggregate long exposure is still going up. So you wonder, like, who are these people who can just long into this type of crazy move? But that's essentially what we're seeing on the chart. Now, you may be wondering, like, why do I care about something that is so obviously inversely correlated to price, right? As price is going down, this is going up again. That's a very valid point, a very good point. But, it's just when something like this tells me that there are very large players in the market who have extreme long exposure. Some whales in the space have levels of long exposure that's just beyond anything that's ever happened before. And so whenever I notice like major players with skin in the game at that level, that is more telling than anything anybody else could tell me. Um, Skin in the game is really tells you everything you need to know. And it ties back to that old saying that show me your portfolio and I'll tell you what you believe. So obviously there are some people on Bitfinex with some serious conviction that price is going to go higher. Now, of course, there are other people probably of the same size or larger with differing beliefs and different convictions. And I think there are definitely hedge funds operating in the market right now with absolutely contrary directional bias. This is a period of massive volatility, big players hunting each other. So it's a very volatile time to trade, which is good, but also very risky as well. So this is an interesting chart. It's the global BTC under management. So it's just showing inflows into exchange funds. So you got ByteTree, VanEck, ProShares, HashX, Status Invest, ETF Securities, Cosmos Asset Management. It just shows you that over April, May, and June, there's been a steady inflow in these funds. Now, of course, I mean, guaranteed, April was not a great time to buy. May is probably not ideal either. There's really been no ideal time to buy these last few weeks. But institutions, they're more long-term minded. They don't really care to get the exact bottom, even though, of course, nobody can do that with certainty. But the other factor here is that, they can only accumulate as prices going down due to the size. They just simply can't. There's not enough liquidity for them to buy as prices going up. And again, but these funds also have risk management, so they do get hunted, right? I mean, they do have stop losses in certain areas, and that they are very much a target of the hunt. So just an interesting to think about. Uh, Another interesting chart, but not directly related to what we're talking about, but tangentially related, is this chart. This is showing the institutional Coinbase custody. And I found it interesting just how large this is, the 1.4 million Bitcoins. I mean, if you think about the Bitcoin circulating supply, it's roughly 18. If you count all the Bitcoin that hasn't been mined, Bitcoin that's been lost or stolen, you're somewhere around 18 million Bitcoins. So Coinbase institutional custody alone is a very significant percentage of that total supply. I mean, it's like, I think, almost 8%. I mean, that's crazy. You add up all the other major players in the space, and you can see how there's just not enough room in the pool for everybody to get into. There's just not enough supply. Anyway, going back to the Bitcoin USD longs chart, you know I'm just, again, this is not an indicator. I don't really think this is tradable in any way. It's just something to keep an eye on and something I found interesting. Again, if we are at a bottom, right, a macro bottom, which could very well be the case on the Bitcoin chart. You know, um, Considering where the 200 weekly moving average is, coming in, boom, boom, boom. I think with that in mind, of course, it doesn't feel that way now. But if we do bottom out here, and this is like a very dramatic recovery, then I think this Bitfinex longs will be. We'll look at that in hindsight and think, how could I not have seen that, right? How could I not have seen these whales accumulating, building their spot position? You can also see similar things on the blockchain. If you just track the wallets, whales or entities with greater than 1,000 Bitcoin are accumulating Bitcoin. They're not distributing. So it's one of those things where, we'll look at it in hindsight and we'll say, well, how could I not have noticed that? And of course, if we go into a prolonged bear market, we'll look at it in hindsight and say, well, that obviously doesn't work. Again, I don't think this is something actionable to take a trade around or base a trade around. It's just interesting. It's showing you the whales have really shown their hand. They've really stepped into the market with size, and there are different directional players in the market. And somebody is going to, it's a battle of the bulls and the bears. Somebody's going to win, but I can't see a way. Whenever you see something like this hit extremes, I just don't see how this doesn't contribute to massive volatility. So if there's any takeaway, I would not take away a directional bias from this. I would just use it as confirmation that, like, look, like there's going to be some massive volatility coming in the market. Again, if these whales on Bitfinex are wrong in their intention and end up being wrong, well, the only way to close these positions is to sell, and so they will have to sell at some point. So just something to keep an eye on. Anyway, if you guys like this content, again, just make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.